morning, everyone. It's Robert T. Green, CEO of Pre-Post Game, also known as Players Rep, Yet Educate, Empower, Protect the Athletes in the Family's Best Interests Alone. Good morning to everyone. As you guys know, I always start my videos and lives based off of that actual phrase. So for those that are listening now and in the future, it's clear and understood where I stand, what my responsibilities are, and specifically who and what I identify with. I think it's so important to recognize and understand that actual particular thought process of each individual person in the world we live in today, whether it's social media, TV, radio, television, with all the things that are going on in society between racial inequality, riots in different places and things of that nature, watching the media, how they try to spin things. It's never been more important as an individual to do a couple things. One, know your worth as a human being, the value that you possess to not only yourself but those around you. Despite what you may hear and see on TV, read in the newspaper, scroll across on social media, so many people validate their livelihood based off how many likes and views they got, how many followers they got. Again, for those who don't know me, again, I've done a lot of things in this country, in this world, things that's never been done before, but not only on the plight of athletes, but just African-American people in general. My story is one of homelessness, being shot, single-parent home, suicidal at one point, depression, all the things that people don't think that someone like me driving a nice vehicle, dressed nice, at least I think I dress nice, that I understand how I went through it. I have went through it. I am you and you am I. And you and I are the same, with the point I'm trying to make. So the bottom line is that if I let what society or what Twitter or what social media or what those outside or around me value to be most important, whether it's those things such as likes and follows, things that cannot pay the bills, things that are not tangible, things that when you're gone can no longer be left and actually do anything to help give your family generational wealth, then I don't subscribe to those things. And that means societal norms. That means people that want to basically dismiss my voice, try to dismiss the people that I represent voices. In particular, if you talk about the Iowa former athletes and families that has the only university in the history of the United States to actually pay for their own investigation and find themselves guilty of bullying and racism for over 2 decades under Kurt Ferenc, which is why we wouldn't send their African-American sons there, as they retain him as an actual coach. Racists are never going to admit to their racism, nor are they the ones that can provide change for their racist culture and behavior. They basically can try to dismiss the behavior, make excuses for the behavior, point the finger at someone else. We see that far too often these days in so many different areas, but with my level of expertise as being in sports, look no further than the Southeastern Conference, also known as the SEC. When you have the government and the CDC supposed to be looking out for people's health and well-being, but all of a sudden talking about if you don't have symptoms to not do contact tracing or limit the testing, all in efforts to get uninformed, unpaid labor to play in college football in the states such as South Carolina, Alabama, Florida, and the list goes on and on and on. At the same time, understanding that this actual virus basically affects African Americans disproportionately, and brown people and other minorities, but yet you still have them using them to go out there and say we want to play without paying the players. So again, pay the players, no pay, no play. So when I do these videos now, the unfortunate passing of Kobe Bryant, who's my age, and also with now Chadwick Boseman is my age, and what you find in society, everyone is talking about, well, what are you going to do with Black Panther 2 now? Once again, whether people understand or not, as an African American, you find that how society has now created us or labeled us as either entertainment to amuse people, and even in our passing, we are still entertainment to them. And it's the saddest part, but once again, we contribute to that by actually, as minorities, contributing or answering to those same questions. So rest in peace to Chadwick Boseman for the man he was, who fought and did these movies and entertained people and stayed strong as he fought colon cancer for 4 years. But that's what I said about putting things in perspective. I have to do these videos when you got people that's unqualified and uneducated, such as Danny Cannell, who was a fringe player at best, and Greg McElroy, another less than fringe player, that gets the ability to speak on things such as ESPNU, Channel 84, and Sirius XM, which I pay money for, and hear him try to, again, manipulate and change the narrative pertaining to athletes making the best business decisions for them. For those who don't know, Jamar Chase, the top 5 potential receiver out of LSU, opted out. We know what's going on in the SEC pertaining to those athletes, and they're talking about football and health and safety, how many players have already tested COVID, the ones that are still being quarantined, that's not being reported publicly. How you expect to play football safely and get through a season when everybody is going left and right, falling out to this actual virus, but they're not reporting it? And then you try to vilify the man on your radio station that makes money off of talking about him, his name, image, and likeness, and about the decisions that he made. And then he transferred over to a young man who also opted out of the University of Memphis, basically being a top-rated running back, and try to make the argument that he should return to school one more year, which, not understanding the business, how the NFL values a running back or lack thereof from a salary standpoint, from a longevity standpoint. And I guess everybody wants to, in that world, wants to forget about the thing called CTE, which, again, you're talking about brain trauma. So once again, his argument was he should have came back to school. But then when Danny Cannell says, and I quote, yeah, well, I get it. The young man, wants to leave, and the family issues and things of that nature, because, he's already had 4 family members die for COVID. Again, immediately Greg McElroy steps in. Well. We're talking about football, not personal decisions. Once again, how do you separate a young man that's playing football to try to take care of himself and his family and his future, had 4 deaths in his family due to COVID, and then think he should go out there and play football and to take a chance on him possibly getting COVID, and then try to separate the two and say, we're not talking about his deaths in his family. We're talking about him coming back and playing football because it's a football conversation, not personal. How sick in the head are you? How sick in the head are you, Greg McElroy? Man, if I seen you in person, you got about, 10 words to get out your mouth before I say something that you ain't never going to forget, that your ancestors might hear it. And the way you talk and speak lets me know what type of ancestors you have. Trust the facts, not the process. So, again, for what we stand for and we're looking for today, whether it's at the collegiate level, whether it's at the pro level, and all these African-American men standing up for their rights in the future of their generations, I applaud you guys. Again, nothing is perfect. Everybody has their own wants and dreams and likeness to do certain things that they can, look back on and say, I did this. And what you realize is the African-American man, and in this society, in order to really get the recognition or the actual understanding of the credit you deserve, you got to do these things over and over, such as you got to do something, be successful at it. Then you got to tell somebody you did it. Then you got to show somebody you did it. Then you got to brag and boast and be cocky about that you did it. Then you got to do those things all over again just to get somebody to open their eyes, where someone who's less qualified, privileged, put in positions of power, such as Iowa, where you have a coach that's there for 20 years in Kirk Ferentz, and you got your son who has 6 DUIs but was in line to be the next head coach. Trust the facts, not the process. He's not qualified to babysit a puppy, much less coach a bunch of men, specifically African-American men, that he's basically operated and hovered over and overseen in racist and bullying tactics. But then at the same time, the powers that be, the industry, if you watch this, the pro world fights for justice and equality, the complete opposite in high school and college. So again, there's a real concerted effort to continue to keep the young African-American male in particular, who only thinks that they can make it out of their situation of life is through athletics and entertainment. Understanding that when I got in this business, we created the first and only sports business academy curriculum in the world for athletes and parents to understand this business. And since we're talking about business, we're talking about education, I'm going to give you guys a little math assignment, because it's not hard, it's real easy. I'm going to give you some numbers. So you should know there's approximately 1 million athletes per year, and we're talking football right now, so to keep it in context, that attempts to play high school football. Every one of those kids dreams and hopes in one day to possibly play in the National Football League, despite what people want to tell you. I just want to win championship. No, they all hope to play at the highest level one day, specifically educationally and also economic and socially African-American men. Because once again, when you only valued or viewed in society as entertainment through sports and music, then that's what you strive to be, because you feel like that's how I can make it, that's how my peers are going to love me, that's how my parents are going to love me, that's how Caucasian men are going to accept me for who I am and nothing less. So you go through that. Now you got to understand, when I say there's 1 million per year, if we just talking about 40 years of slavery and oppression, 100 per year, and again, obviously the NCAA came into place in 1906. So, okay, so let's just go back to that, 1906 to now we're talking about 151 years. 151 years of 1 million people trying to play football, hopefully to play in the pros one day. Regardless of all the money that's being made today, it wasn't back then, but it was still a prestigious opportunity. In the history of the National Football League, there's only been 2,500 players ever drafted, ever. Again, 1 million a year are paying for cleats, helmets, signing waivers, getting head injuries, breaking legs, getting hurt, getting asphyxiated, respiratory issues, all these different things. 1 million a year, only to be one of 2,500 ever to be drafted in the National Football League. Okay, so now we're talking about 1% that make it pro, 99% that don't. The 99% through high school and pros, where you have schools such in like Katy, Texas, and McAllen, Texas, that have facilities worth $68 to $70 million that are actually in place. You got these guys like last night on ESPN, on TV in high school, advertising everywhere. You got the worldwide leader coming into these homes of these African-American families, smiling in their face while kicking them in their back down the road, trying to show how poor they are and want them to put up hats and t-shirts to give free marketing and advertising to these billion-dollar universities. And I'll get to that in a second to explain to you guys how this actually works. Because again, when I speak, the 3 things I tell you every one of my videos: if I'm not educating, if I'm not empowering, I'm not protecting, then I'm not speaking. And I suggest that you, regarding you dealing with people in this industry, to hold them accountable to that same standard. So again, you have those things going on. So out of the 99% of the billion-dollar industry that you have, known as college athletics, because only 1% going pro, mind you, in football, the actual average career is 2.5 years. So now out of the 2,500 that have ever been drafted, you spend approximately 19 to 20 years when you first started playing football. You, like I said, you traveled, you went to camps, you paid permission slips, all that money invested into that to get somewhere where you hope that you may be, that the average career is 2.5 years. But here, wait, there's more. Out of the 2.5 years, you actually do not have a guaranteed contract. For those that end up in the 2.5 years average career, to be in the NFL, to be vested in your 401k. Now, mind you, you've been through college, you're educated, maybe you got a degree, you don't even know what a 401k is. Just the facts, not the process. But however, if you're not on the field and you're not basically playing within the 2 years, the NFL is not going to bring you back in 3 years because they don't want to pay your benefits. So you spent 20 years chasing a dream for a career you thought, only to get 2.5 years in your return on your investment. So let's put that in a money standpoint. So $1 million, you're going to take $950,000 of those dollars over the 20 years in an investment, only in hopes to get in return of $100,000, because you'll get your 50 back to get there, and then you'll get the 2.5%, another $50,000 from there. So you basically spent $950,000 to get $100,000 back. Does that sound wise to you? But again, when I talk about sports trafficking, and without you, this industry would cease to exist, and 100 other professions would cease to exist. Let's go back to this. While you still being at 99, putting that 1 million, and you got all these restaurants and their horrible cheesy fries, without you as the athlete, high school, collegiate, or pros, on that TV, that's basically the reason why people are coming out there to watch those actual games and come into those restaurants and bars and drink that watered down beer that's still not tapped properly, to basically go gamble on the little poker machines that's sitting in there, to place bets on their phones and their smart apps through FanDuel and everything else. As I said, you got to know your worth in order to get equality. But if you think society as a whole, specifically for African-American men or people in general, are going to give you your just due or pat you on the back or sit there and tell you how wonderful you are Again, when African American people get respected and remembered is when they no longer breathing. Just the facts, not the process. So as I said before, I never know when my last day gonna be, so I'm gonna do everything I can under my power with my mind intact and basically educate and empower, protect those that can't protect themselves. And I don't need anyone to basically tell me that I don't know what I'm talking about, or did I know what I'm talking about to actually make my point. I already made my point. For those who want to believe otherwise, my company specifically and myself are one of the main reasons, and happily let you know what you see happening pertaining to athletes, is the leaders of this actual cause. When they're talking about athletes voting right now and things of that nature, we was doing that 3 years ago, holding these NCAA institutions accountable. When we talk about how actual colleges work, when I talk about financial aid really being what it is instead of a scholarship, and when you have schools sending players overseas during the summer and saying they're trying to give them an experience, you don't understand. Just like when Bloomberg gave John Hopkins $1.8 billion, you got to understand universities are not-for-profit organizations. So when rich men give schools this money, that's a tax write-off for them. And then a lot of these schools in return turn around and buy product or merchandise from these same people for profit, and essentially now they made their money back, then some, but they can't pay the player. So you have the universities and the powers that be say, oh, you can't pay the players because there's not enough money. That's a lie. Once again, if you don't understand the business, you don't know how this works, then you basically will feed into that, and you allow them to keep using you and giving you cotton t-shirts and aluminum rings and a helmet sticker to basically risk your well-being. So again, shout out to the young gentleman from Memphis who left to take care of his family. Greg McElroy, you discussed me when he had 4 family members that died from COVID and had the audacity to try to separate the conversation. What do you think he's there for? Again, that's right, to entertain you. To entertain you. The shuck and jive. The knuck and buck. Between Jason Whitlock, Jack Brewer, and Marcellus Wiley, you got plenty of guys to do that. We don't need any more. You see, as I mention these names and call them out, because the bottom line is not enough people that look like me that's willing to do so. Because once again, for some reason, whatever reason, the Caucasian society think when you put certain African-American men on TV that they speak for those that literally can't speak for themselves. No, they speak for those that they will put in place to speak for them that basically want to change the narrative, make the narrative be what it is when it isn't. As we say, keep it real. I'm going to keep it real. So as I was talking about how college actually breaks down in these certain areas, if you're talking about the realities of chasing a sport, in particular football, and what the ramifications are, only to not get the return on your investment, but all these different people have made hundreds of thousands and millions and billions of dollars off of your efforts. You can't have equality without knowing your worth. And so, again, I implore the athletes and the parents at the earliest level. Once again, there's one thing back in the day where you don't have the resources. Invest in our Sports Business Academy name, image, and likeness. It is the best thing that you can ever do. We work with some people that literally have done things that never been done from an African-American standpoint that people still don't know. Why is that? Because the bottom line is the industry would hate to see more African-American people know their worth and also invested in themselves to create generational wealth. If what I'm saying is false, then someone come and tell me I'm lying. I've been doing this for 6 years, and anybody knows how business works. It's hard to be in business 2 years, much less 6. And as I said, we're just getting started. The things that I say and do, my title, CEO, Chief Executive Officer. Acronyms, you want to hire a financial advisor. What is a CFP? What is an FA? How do you basically review their actual record? What is an RFP? It's not a game. It's not a joke. Half of you guys, like I said again, is chasing that dream to be successful professional athletes, but don't understand what it means to be a millionaire and expect to sustain that just because you trust the process and it's God's plan. That's ignorant. That's uneducated. That's uninformed. That's the NCAA. Those are the people like Ed Ogeron and Dabo Sweeney and Nick Saban who basically are not reporting these actual cases that's happening. Those are the same people that basically want to tell you that, you know what, they got your best interests in mind, why they ask you to risk millions for t-shirts. So again, salute Jamar Chase. And we're going to find out, Coach Ogeron, how really good of a coach you are without the best players out there. Because as I said before, there's never been a great team or great player with a bad coach. I mean, a great coach. Never had a bad player with a great coach. So the fact is that you have to understand, we have to make the changes, the education, the actual quality of life of who you are and how you see yourself relevant at the youngest age. People shouldn't be able to come into your house and tell you anything just to tell it to you and you accept it for what it is. Someone shouldn't be able to tell you that, you know what, this is what we're going to do, how we're going to do it, without giving you the actual way you're going to go about doing it. What's the checks and balance system? How do you go about doing those things? So, once again, I like to thank our white brothers and sisters for standing up for us in many areas, like I said, when it comes to this fight for racial equality. But when it comes back to the African-American people in general, you got to stand up and fight for yourself. And I'm not just talking about marching and protesting. Again, yes, you must vote. That's the point. You need to vote. Understand what you're voting for. Understanding when you're not getting what you need and what your needs are to get those met. We have to do a whole lot better. And I'm trying to do my part. This video doesn't do anything from a standpoint of you know, someone's gonna like me more and you know, for all the people that I know in life, associates, friends, and that nature, when you see these videos, you're like, man, that dude, he an a-hole, or he tough, whatever. The people that I deal with on a regular basis, clients and friends of mine and associates, they know a couple things about me. One, I don't bring drama to anybody in their life. That's not what I do. I don't do the he say, she say. I mean what I say and I say what I mean. Two, the people that I want to be around, I'm around them, and I enjoy being around them for who they are as people. And I thank them for allowing me to be in their lives because they don't have to. Three, if I have no reason to be around you or you provide no value to me in my life or my circle, and therefore nothing that you say or do is going to affect me whatsoever, I don't entertain you. Nor should you entertain them yourself. That's the problem. We got too many different people in our head saying things and doing things that we can never get our own self straight. And then at the end of the day, when it's all said and done, we spinning in circles. That's the facts, not the process. I just want you guys to know that you matter. Your lives are valuable. Despite what people want to tell you, despite the circumstances that you've been in, like as I said before, as someone that was homeless, shot, depressed, suicidal, all these different things while being a collegiate athlete. Speaking of which, talking about my collegiate career, yes, Mike Bailey, you are a fraud. Virginia Union University, you're a fraud. For those who continue to tell African American athletes to not go to Power 5 conference and go to HBCUs, you know not what you speak of. Once again, knowledge is power. Understand how all these things work. Before you complain about something and direct these young African American families and men in another direction, understand how it works. Understand how society is set up. Generational wealth is yours if you're willing to take the education and utilize the resources and knowledge presented to you. If you're trying to take shortcuts, if you want to blame someone else, if you want to let a coach tell you that you are the most important thing and the best person in the world, then you go ahead and I can show you how it's going to end up. You'll be one of the 80%. I'm sorry, I'm not here to tell you what you want to hear. I'm here to tell you what you need to know. And for those that I've been blessed and fortunate enough to be able to work with, they understand that completely. And I thank God, and I appreciate them. They're living well because of it. And I want to see you live well as well. Everything you see before you is not something that someone said that I can do or supported me in doing. This is my wants. This is my dreams. This is me putting the work in to basically go do it. I literally probably work more than most people ever walk the face of this earth. And the majority of the work that I do is based on things that I had to go seek and find out myself to get the answers. It wasn't given to me and it wasn't sitting out there. So I challenge you guys. I support you guys. I believe in you guys. Once again, this whole social media thing and technology, I do these videos for timestamp purposes. As I said, we are united. Big Ten united. And for those people out there that continue to try to go against these athletes and their families and, you know, disregard and marginalize them, I'm here for it. I can fight physically, I can fight mentally. I always have, always will. But I just hope, like I said again, today's my last day, that what I've said to you and what you took in provided some type of understanding and balance regarding what you're trying to accomplish. And for those that literally either through racism or doesn't want to see someone that looks like me and my color of my skin, for simple as that, be successful, God bless you too. But I want you to know there's nothing you can do, and I mean absolutely nothing you can do to stop anyone like me. Knowledge is power. And so the more that you know and understand that this knowledge is going to be spread amongst generations for time to come and years to come and centuries to come, I am extremely happy during my lifetime to see a few things. One, I don't care about the policies of Barack Obama. I don't care about the policies of Kamala Harris, because again, at the end of the day, over the last 400 years, the audacity for you Caucasian people in particular, even some friends of mine, to act like any person in any type of political situation, president, whatever, has actually done something literally. I'm not talking about bills passed. I'm not talking about things that they've done in between their Congress or their communities to make change. But I'm talking about systemic racism and oppression. This thing is just as prevalent today as it was way back when it's all first started. And if you can't recognize and understand that, that's not my problem, that's yours. You would say, well, yeah, well, look how you dress, how you drive, you should be happy. You didn't give me anything. Right, did this for me. Those pain, those nightmares, what I went through from police brutality, when I went through being homeless, when I went through all the different things that went on in society in college, you can't change that. No one's sitting there basically saying, oh, you okay? The injuries that I sustained in college, they're not paying for it to get fixed. But you didn't ask. You didn't ask. And but since you didn't ask, now you say, well, Colin Kaepernick shit took a knee. Then you say, well, they shouldn't be rioting and looting. Oh, then you say, well, they should not go to work that day. Once again, nobody asking you what you think we should do pertaining to our rights from being oppressed through systemic racism. We're telling you. The number one consumer in the world, African American people, we're telling you. And for those who don't understand the impact for those people that's racist and ignorant and uneducated pertaining to what they do not know, pertaining to athletes, especially student athletes, again, if you tell a coach, you tell a player, oh, you can leave, go somewhere else, the financial aid for him being poor will apply and work at the same university somewhere else. But guess what? That coach would be out of a job. Guess what? That school would be out of money coming in from the TV network. Guess what? That entire alumni base that's put money into that school would no longer basically be able to give money to that school because you're not getting the ticket sales back. And pertaining to the NBA and ESPN, because again, they don't report these things, but their 9-year deal with Turner and ESPN is worth $24 billion. Whether you fans show up or not. That cake is cooked and baked in. So, when billionaire owners is making $24 billion by sitting back and watching black guys play basketball, you think, again, they became billionaires from being stupid? No. They became billionaires in a lot of areas by the African American athletes being stupid. And those days are over. And we're not going back. So, trust the facts, not the process. My name is Robert T. Green, the CEO of Pre-Post Game, here to educate, empower, protect the athletes and the family's best interests alone. Again, this video educated, empowered, to protect you anyway. Please like and share. Look forward to speaking to you guys soon. Again, do your part. If today is your last day, make it your best day and the one that no one ever forget. God bless you guys.